Hello everyone and welcome to another GTA discussion video where I'm going to be talking about the Relay Racing Adversary game mode that's been introduced into GTA with the Lowriders update, and it introduces some interesting features to the game in general and racing on the game that haven't been added to the regular racing modes but probably should have been. And obviously this is brought on by the video that I put up a few days ago, the GTA Live video, where I had a bit of a rant at Rockstar during that video when we were doing these relay racing game modes, because I just think it's completely wasted where it is. So I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on that, a little bit of a discussion about that. So the main functionality that they've introduced with this is the idea of a relay race. So the idea that, you know, you do a lap, you have teammates, you do a lap, then you come back to the start line and your teammate goes and does the next lap. Then you come back round and, you know, you keep going like that. I'm sure you've seen the video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link to it in the description, because that's what I'm talking about here. So that's an interesting way to go with racing in general, you know. Having team endurance races would be quite interesting if we could do something like that, and especially if we were able to change the number of laps that each person could do. I mean, the functionality is already there now, you know. It's in the game because they've added it with the adversary game mode. They could quite easily just put that into a racing game mode. Instead of choosing standard or GTA or rally race, you choose a relay race on any track that you want, and you can set the amount of laps that every driver does. So say you could do the North Loop, 3 laps for each driver. So one driver does for 3 laps, and then the next driver comes in and does another 3 laps, and it would be like a proper endurance race. Now, the way that it is at the minute, it's stuck in an adversary game mode. You have to use the tracks that have been made by Rockstar, which are all pretty much rubbish figure of 8 crossover tracks that don't take very long at all. You can't use your own cars. They're all, you know, stock vehicles. It's so frustrating to see what could make racing on GTA so much more fresh and have such a big impact on the way that we go racing. I'm talking about it from a sort of endurance racing standpoint, but in addition to that, you know, the community, the racing community, especially with if this this was given to us to be able to use in the content creator, for example, could make up some really interesting races that would be part of that. And I just can't understand why something like this, the functionality, has been developed and programmed and implemented and just stuck into 5 random game modes in an adversary in the adversary game mode category. I just can't understand why it wasn't put into regular races, because it would just make it so much more interesting if you could use your own tracks. Now that's the main thing, but there are a few other things as well that really we've been asking for quite a while. I certainly have. When I've been doing these racing DLC videos and trying to suggest these things for Rockstar, I've suggested these sort of things, and instead of giving them to us as options in a racing situation, they've put them into this relay race mode. So one of them is the fact that there are no boost starts at the very start of a race. You know, normally just as go pops up on the screen, you put your finger on the right trigger and you get a boost at the start. That's something that I've said, you know, we should be given the option to turn that off so that we can sort of manage the wheel spin ourselves, rather than just, you know, having to time it right and just getting a good start straight away. It also causes a lot of issues at the start of a race if people don't get it. And it also makes the start of the race a lot faster as well, where really when people are tighter together, you want the start of the race to be quite slow. So I've always said to implement that, and instead of giving us that in a regular racing situation, in regular racing modes, and giving us the option in a race lobby, say, to turn off boost starts, they've just not included them in the relay racing mode. So the functionality is there. They've developed the functionality to put it into this game mode, yet they haven't given us it in regular racing, which is where it would be most useful. There's also the idea that cars can change from contact to non-contact during the race, and that's something that I've suggested as well for cars going backwards in standard races. Obviously GTA races are all free-for-alls, but in standard races you could have cars that are going backwards or have stopped on the track become invisible, so to reduce the amount of trolls. Again, that functionality has now been developed and been programmed into the relay racing mode, because those who are actually active racing around on the lap are in a contact format and those who are waiting are in a non-contact format, but they haven't implemented that into regular races. So there's a lot of features in this relay racing mode that I just think are completely wasted where it is. I would really like some of those features to be put into regular races, because I'm just not going to be doing this relay racing game mode. 8 players on rubbish tracks with stock vehicles. What's the point? What's the point in putting it there? They've developed the functionality now with this. Just give us it in regular races. And this is something that I see Rockstar doing all the time. These missteps, putting the Blister Compact into sports, putting the Moonbeam into muscle, giving the Sterling GT a spoiler when it would have been absolutely perfectly balanced with the rest of the Sports Classics class without a spoiler. Things like this that they make such a great game, and they even develop the functionality that we want, but stick it in completely the wrong place, and just a slight misstep or a mistake, and it just makes it completely useless. And for me, the relay racing game mode, yeah, it's a bit of fun every now and again, but I'm not really going to be playing it regularly, whereas the functionality that is in there, if it was put into regular races, would make it so much more interesting. Another one is sort of multi-class racing that we've been going on about for it must seem like years now. The idea of not just being restricted to having sports or supers, where you could have sports and supers and then 2 different tiers in the same race, or off-roads and sedans or something like that. That can't be that difficult to implement. All you have to do is an extra GTA race, standard race, rally race, relay race, multi-class relay race, or multi-class race in general. It can't be that difficult, yet they just refuse to put these things in. And I know racing isn't exactly the be all and end all of GTA, but small features like this, that specifically the stuff in the relay racing game mode that have already been introduced and programmed into the game, they would just make such a huge difference to making the racing on GTA even more interesting than what it already is, and give it a fresh approach. So that's all I wanted to say in this video, just a quick discussion on it. Let me know all your thoughts down below about this sort of thing. Rockstar do make a great game and do put in some great game modes and great features, but do they sometimes misstep like this and just not give us the stuff in the right way that we really need it? So let me know all your thoughts down below. Thank you guys for watching, I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.